My husband returned from his tribulation, and I rushed to care for him. As soon as I entered the immortal gate, I heard his cold shout, "How dare you deceive me with such a matter? You have quite the nerve. The entire heavenly court knows I despise demonkind the most. How could I possibly seek to marry a demon immortal? Immortal maidens are as numerous as fish in a river. What is so outstanding about her that I would ask my father to propose on my behalf? What a joke!" In his rage, he waved his hand and destroyed the immortal pavilion, and unexpectedly, our eyes met. The enraged deity was almost instantly stunned. The love knot on his wrist glowed brightly, casting a rosy hue on his face, his eyes sparkling with brilliance, and his voice gentle. "May I ask, fair immortal, are you betrothed?" Me, there was, but now, I'm not so sure. Hello, everyone, welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now, the story begins. Just after emerging from seclusion, I learned that my husband, Chunbi, who had descended to the mortal realm to undergo trials, had returned to the heavenly court. Although our marriage was merely a facade used by the celestial court and the demon clan to maintain a balance of power, and we had only met a few times before going our separate ways, we were still bound by the title of husband and wife. I hastily arranged my affairs and hurried to the celestial court. Just as I entered the celestial gate, I ran headlong into the registrar, who was rushing out in a panic. Seeing me, he nearly burst into tears. "Divine consort, the divine lord has returned." I smiled faintly. "Returned from his tribulation, so overjoyed you're like this." "Not overjoyed, it's..." She hesitated, glanced at me, and said, "Divine consort, you should go in and see for yourself. The divine lord has driven all of us out." I guessed that Lord Chunbi must have been worn down by his trials and was in a foul mood. I mentally rehearsed a gentle, comforting tone before hurrying inside. Before I even reached the inner hall, I heard Chunbi roar, "What marriage? How dare you deceive me with such a thing? You have some nerve." Inside, Simo's voice trembled as he said, "Divine Lord, you really are married to the demon clan's princess Junning." Chenbai grew even angrier. "The entire heavenly court knows I dislike the demon clan. How could I possibly marry a female immortal from the demon race? What nonsense. I've only been away for a short time to endure my trials, and you've already learned to talk rubbish." Simo was scolded into silence. After a long while, he finally managed to squeeze out a grievance-filled reply. "But this marriage was something you personally begged the heavenly lord to propose on your behalf. After the engagement was settled, you even prepared the betrothal gifts yourself. You were so overjoyed there wasn't the slightest hint that you disliked her." Chenbai sneered disdainfully. "If you're going to make things up, at least make it believable. There are as many female immortals in the heavens as fish in a river. What's so special about her that I would ask my father to propose on my behalf? If you keep spouting nonsense, you'll be punished immediately." Simo must have grown bold, for he actually dared to talk back. "At the time of the wedding, you personally ordered us to treat the divine consort with the same respect as we would you. How dare you?" With a single shout from Chenbai, the entire celestial pavilion instantly vanished. I stood in the courtyard, still unsure how to explain things to him, and as I looked up, my eyes met his furious gaze. How should I tell him that he really did marry me? Simo was quite loyal. Even after being scolded by Chenbai, he still whispered to me, "The divine lord has just returned and has forgotten some things. Please don't be anxious, divine consort." Chenbai didn't refute it this time, but instead stared at me unblinkingly, as if trying to see my true form. I nodded reassuringly at Simo, though I truly didn't know how to react. After all, we'd only been married for barely over a month, with me in seclusion and him undergoing tribulation. We'd barely spoken a few words to each other. There was simply no chance for us to get to know one another. I had almost forgotten I even had a husband when I first left seclusion. So it wasn't hard to understand that he might have forgotten he was married after his tribulation. I gave Simo a reassuring nod and softened my voice as I spoke to Chunbi. "You've just returned from your tribulation. Is there anything you're having trouble adjusting to?" Just as I was about to step closer to explain the current situation, the love knot bracelet on Chenbai's wrist suddenly glowed brightly, causing the one on my own wrist to tremble slightly. I was somewhat surprised, not understanding why Chenbai was suddenly so agitated, but when I looked up, I saw that his previously furious expression had vanished as if blown away by the wind. He was just staring at me in a daze, with a strange, inexplicable light shimmering at the corners of his eyes and brows. The trembling of the love knot was truly unusual. I had never seen such a phenomenon before. Unable to resist, I quickly stepped forward and grabbed his wrist to take a closer look. Are you feeling unwell? Is your immortal root still stable? Chen Bai remained silent, not uttering a word, his gaze fixed unblinkingly on me. The light in his eyes grew increasingly bright, while a faint blush slowly spread across his flawless, jade-like skin. The usually reserved and aloof immortal lord now looked at me with an almost infatuated expression. Oh no, could something have gone wrong during his tribulation? Without a moment to spare for further thought, I called for Simo to fetch the medical immortal. Chen Bai, who had been motionless all this time, suddenly moved. With a gentle turn of his hand, he grasped mine, holding it softly in his palm. In that instant, the glow of the love knot flared up so brightly it was almost blinding. Fairy, are you married? His words left both Simo and me stunned. What is this situation? Should I say yes or no? I didn't know how to explain it to him at the moment, so I simply had someone summon the immortal physician first. Chen Bai was thoroughly examined by the immortal physician once again, and only after confirming that there were no issues anywhere did I finally feel relieved. I then asked the physician why Chen Bai's speech was so peculiar. The immortal physician stroked his beard. The Divine Lord is now well, with no damage to his magical powers or immortal roots. As for this confusion in speech, the immortal physician glanced at Chen Bai, whose gaze had been following me, and said softly, "It may be that the experiences during the tribulation have become jumbled, causing the Divine Lord's memory to be temporarily unstable. Once I prepare a few more medicinal pills to stabilize his spirit, it should be fine." After seeing the immortal doctor off, I turned around only to meet Chen Bai's unwavering gaze once again. He looked as if he had stumbled upon a priceless treasure, making one feel that if he were also a member of my demon tribe, he would have transformed into his true form and licked my face with excitement. I remained silent, lost in thought, and he seemed to sense the awkwardness, shifting his gaze uncomfortably as he tried to explain. "Don't misunderstand, I'm not being frivolous, I just thought. Since they call you the divine consort, that must mean, we've been married, right?" Seeing him a bit anxious, I was about to speak when Cyan suddenly interjected sarcastically, "Who knows, our divine lord is so high and mighty that anyone who mentions marriage gets kicked out." Then he nudged Simo and added, "There are plenty of fairies in the heavens, who do you think you are?" Simo burst into laughter, quickly covering his mouth to stifle it. Chen Bai's face flushed with anger. But Cyan and Simo, being quite slippery, immediately bowed to me and took their leave. The words divine consort were deliberately shouted loudly, and then she dashed away in a flash, leaving behind a fuming Chen Bai and me staring at each other in silence. As a demonic immortal cultivator, before undergoing the heavenly tribulation, I often roamed the mortal world and witnessed many partings in life and death, love and hatred, resentment and anger. My heart had long become as still as water. But now, facing Chen Bai with his temporarily disordered memories, I still can't decide what identity to use when interacting with him. Just as I was hesitating, Chen Bai tentatively spoke first. "I've just returned from my tribulation, never expecting something like this to happen. I truly don't remember getting married. I've always kept myself pure and never been particularly close to any fairy in my daily life. If you don't believe me, you can ask Simo." After saying this, he remembered Simo's earlier teasing and bit his lip in frustration. "Before I met you, I really thought he had taken some benefit from someone and was trying to deceive me. I didn't intentionally forget about our relationship," he explained with some urgency, stammering as he tried to take my hand. "My lady, please don't be angry with me." I looked up at Chen Bai, finding it hard to imagine that my husband, who had been so reserved even when kissing me on our wedding night, could be this clingy now. "My lady." I snapped back to my senses and saw that the love knot bracelet on his wrist was still glowing intensely. Remembering the healer's instructions, I quickly pushed him to sit on the couch. "The healer said you need to rest quietly, don't get so worked up. I'm afraid you'll be angry and ignore me." He was quite straightforward, obediently sitting down but still holding onto my hand tightly. "I'm not angry with you. I'm just worried that you. I knew you must care about me. I hadn't finished speaking when he cut me off, and even went so far as to pull my hand and press it against his chest. Earlier, they told me that you were in seclusion for cultivation. Knowing I had returned from my tribulation, you rushed to see me immediately. It shows that I hold an extremely important place in your heart. Indeed, you are the one dearest to my heart, the one who understands me best. The more he spoke, the more his earlier shyness and embarrassment faded away. He kept calling me my lady over and over, more times than he had in all the days since we were married. A strange thought suddenly popped into my mind. He claimed to remember only that he had never married before his tribulation and said he had never admired any other fairy, yet he was so smooth with sweet talk, speaking it so effortlessly. Did he undergo a love tribulation in the mortal world? No wonder the heavenly court was as tight-lipped as a clam, never mentioning what kind of tribulation it was. Why bother? After all, I don't have much interest in Chen Bai anyway. How could I possibly be jealous? Madam, you rushed over as soon as you left seclusion. You must be tired. Let's both rest for a while. All right, I'll stay with you. He consciously shifted aside on the couch and patted it gently. I've warmed it up for you. Madam, come and lie down. No need. I've been in deep sleep during my seclusion, and now it's time to move around. You, on the other hand, should listen to the medical sage and rest well. Chen Bai seemed a bit disappointed, lying on the couch but refusing to sleep, gazing at me eagerly. Madam, the moment I see you, I feel joy in my heart. We must have been very much in love when we were together before. His tone was certain, but I couldn't agree. Which loving couple is forced together for the sake of interests? And probably wouldn't they be too busy with their own affairs to care about each other? Madam, was there something I did wrong before that hurt you? Chen Bai was very sensitive. Seeing that I didn't speak, he immediately sat up and leaned in close to me. Such an enthusiastic and straightforward Chen Bai was hard to resist, so I had no choice but to briefly explain the reasons behind our marriage, along with the short month or so we had spent together. Chen Bai's gaze showed a hint of surprise. Slowly turning somewhat wistful, after I finished speaking, he stopped calling me madam this and madam that. After a moment of silence, he looked up at me again. But madam, I still feel that you are different in my heart. When I see you, I feel joy and admiration, and I want to stay by your side. No matter what we do, I have never felt this way about anyone else. Madam, I may not remember other things, but my affection for you is absolutely genuine. He spoke with such conviction, as if it were the absolute truth. The consequences of memory confusion after a tribulation can range from minor to severe. Although the immortal physician said it was nothing serious, to be on the safe side, I still reported the truth to the heavenly Lord. I also sent word to my father and mother, who were traveling abroad, and decided to stay here temporarily to take care of Chunbi. Chunbi was overjoyed that I could stay with him. He leaned against me and chatted non-stop until I threatened to return to the demon realm if he didn't rest, at which point he reluctantly closed his eyes. I sat in the front hall, casually flipping through a few pharmacopoeias, hoping to find a cure for his sudden illness. Unexpectedly, I hadn't been reading for long when the screen in the inner room was suddenly pushed open with a loud crash. I stood up and saw Chunbi, his face full of panic, rushing over in a few quick steps, grabbing my shoulders firmly. What's wrong with you? After his breathing gradually steadied, he looked at me somewhat sheepishly, half awake and half asleep. I suddenly realized you weren't there. I thought you didn't want to take care of me and had gone back to the demon clan. I didn't know how to respond, so I simply changed the subject. How was your rest? Are you feeling any better? Not so good, he hummed lightly, closed his eyes, and leaned down to nuzzle against my shoulder, then took my hand to press against his chest. Feel it. My heart is beating so fast, and I have no strength at all. My lady, please take care of me. Well, with such a divine face acting all coquettish, it's really impossible to refuse. What can I say? I'm just a demon who's swayed by looks. Then let me help you inside to lie down. No. Without my lady here, lying down would only make me miss her more. Only with my lady by my side can I feel at ease. Let me stay by your side. All right, just go about your business. I won't disturb you at all. Chen Bai was lingering and refused to leave, and I had no choice. As long as you're happy, just don't push yourself too hard. Since you care so much about me, I naturally won't let you worry. I hadn't read more than 2 pages when Chen Bai's hand slipped from my shoulder to my waist, gently holding me. Madam, do you dislike me? I was surprised. Why do you ask that? He drew closer to me, gently pulling me into his embrace with a bit of force. I've heard that people from the demon tribe are lively, passionate, and sweet with their words. You are so wonderful, my lady. Surely many have admired you. I'm afraid you might not like a husband like me, who isn't good with words. Well, if you call this not being good with words, then others might as well be called mute. I gave him a helpless glance, but then I thought about it. I've been so focused on my cultivation that I really haven't paid attention to whether anyone has admired me, so I felt more confident in comforting him. You're just fine as you are. Besides, before we got married, I didn't have anyone I admired either. Chen Bai immediately perked up. So, does that mean you like me the most? Indeed, we share a deep connection and mutual affection. That's not what I meant at all. But the usually meticulous god was now a tangled mess of thoughts, so there was no point in arguing with him. I let out a soft sigh, unable to imagine how Chen Bai would view his current self once he returned to normal in the future. After spending a few days in the heavenly court, Chen Bai asked me curiously, Madam, since you're staying with me in the heavenly court, why haven't I seen any of your daily necessities? I replied casually, I don't live here with you. Chen Bai was immediately taken aback. Since we're husband and wife, why don't you live with me? Another thing that needs explaining, when I married Chen Bai, the heavenly lord, to show his solemnity, specially found a celestial mountain as our residence, but I was in seclusion among the demon clan, and he was often in the heavenly court, so we only stayed in that celestial abode for a few days during our wedding. When Chen Bai heard that we actually had a place to live together, he excitedly pulled me to go see it, but when we actually arrived, he frowned with dissatisfaction. This place is so cold and desolate, it doesn't look like the home of an immortal couple at all. My lady, can I make some changes? I didn't respond, and he perked up again, making hand gestures and chanting spells, arranging everything from top to bottom. In an instant, the immortal mountain turned green with trees and blooming flowers, clear waves and emerald pools appeared. With a few spirit deer and cranes strolling leisurely from time to time, full of vitality, he took my hand, tilted his head, and smiled. This looks much better now, my lady. Do you like it? To be fair, it was indeed much better than that cold and desolate scene. Once inside the residence, Chen Bai looked around and muttered, this place is so empty, with hardly any of our belongings. It really doesn't look proper. Madam, I'll have someone bring all our things over. How about we live here from now on? Without waiting for my agreement, he hastily sent a crane to the heavenly palace to give the order. I felt a bit troubled. My daily necessities are all over the place, and it would be quite troublesome to pack them up. Perhaps I could accompany you to pack. I'm very good at organizing things. Today is the perfect chance to show you my skills. Madam, shall we go? I had no choice but to take him back to the demon clan with me. Today happened to be the demon clan's market day. Demons of all sizes, fully transformed, partially transformed, and not transformed at all, were bustling back and forth at the foot of the mountain, making it a lively scene. Chen Bai tugged at my hand and looked around curiously. Madam, the place you live is so lively. Can we go take a look? I glanced at him, feeling rather puzzled. Didn't you always dislike the demon clan the most? It's full of demons there. It turns out I didn't like it before. Chen Bai wasn't the least bit embarrassed and responded with utter frankness. But after meeting you, my lady, I realized how narrow my perspective was. Whether they are demons or immortals, they are not all the same. Some I dislike, and some I adore. Moreover, now that you are by my side, I find everything delightful. After saying this, he looked at me with a smile in his eyes. Don't be jealous, my lady, you will always be my favorite. His smile was pure and clear, and his dark, obsidian-like eyes reflected only me. I suddenly felt a stirring in my heart. Truth be told, being married to someone like him might not be such a bad thing after all. I held a distinguished position among the demon clan, cherished as the little princess by my father, and the other demons treated me with exceptional warmth. But today, seeing that I had brought a stranger with me, the bolder ones couldn't help but ask curiously, when did the little princess leave seclusion, and why is there someone new accompanying you today? Chen Bai immediately turned to look at me, on the verge of tears with grievance. "Madam, why didn't you let me accompany you when you went out? Why did you seek someone else?" Before I could explain, the surrounding demons all gasped in shock. "Is this the imperial princess's husband? How can he be so frail?" Chen Bai's eyes instantly reddened. "Does Madam truly despise me after all?" As he spoke, he pressed a hand to his chest, seemingly in unbearable pain. I quickly steadied him and turned to explain. "My husband comes from an immortal clan, so he's naturally different from us. He was injured during a tribulation, and I brought him out today to relax, which is why we didn't bring any guards. Please don't mistake him for someone else in the future." The demons all hurriedly agreed, as if afraid of startling Chunbi, and even kindly offered many mountain and earth treasures for me to use to nourish him. Half supporting and half holding him, I brought Chunbi back to my dwelling. He made himself right at home, lying down on my bed and looking up at me. "Your bed is truly extraordinary, my lady. I already feel much better just lying on it. Since you're not feeling well, let's take it slow with the tidying up." "I'm not unwell, I just thought you didn't like me, and that's why I was upset." He raised his hand and tugged gently at my sleeve. "If you just say something sweet to me, I'll feel better." "Alright, say something sweet." I thought about what he had said to me a few days ago, and meeting his hopeful gaze, I instinctively replied, "It's not that I don't like you. You are my husband, and naturally, you are the one who holds a special place in my heart." As the words fell, the love knot bracelet on Chen Bai's wrist glowed brightly again. I hurriedly reached to check his wrist, but he leaned in instead, his lips trembling like butterfly wings, brushing against my cheek before pulling away. I was momentarily stunned. Even though we had done far more intimate things during our newlywed days, none had stirred my heart as deeply as this moment. "Madam, a sudden, clear birdsong interrupted his words. A small bird flew in through the window and spoke in human language. "Sister-in-law, have you seen Chunbi? We can't find him anywhere." I recognized this as the voice of Wei Shenjun from the Heavenly Court, one of Chunbi's close friends, just as I was about to speak. Chunbi chuckled triumphantly. "What do you need me for? I have my wife to keep me company, no time for you lonely souls." The little bird paused for a moment, then immediately changed its tone. "You, Chen Bai, if you have the guts, get back to the Heavenly Palace, and see if I don't beat you until your golden light scatters." "Madam, he's bullying your husband. Madam, protect me." "I'm not like him, he has no one to protect him." The bird was so furious it couldn't catch its breath, flipped over, and plunged to the ground, transforming into a wisp of blue smoke. Having a wife really is wonderful. From now on, I'm someone with a wife to spoil me. They can't bully me anymore, me. It seems the term madam is something I've grown more and more accustomed to hearing. Losing one little bird has attracted a whole flock of them. A few of Chen Bai's divine acquaintances, likely wanting to see just how shameless he could be, gathered outside my window, calling out sister-in-law this, sister-in-law that. Until the noise became unbearable, I had no choice but to agree on Chen Bai's behalf to host a grand feast at our mountain abode. Only then did this flock of birds disperse. Each satisfied, Chen Bai and I returned to the immortal mountain with our belongings, only to find several divine lords already waiting there. They gathered around as soon as they saw us. I drawled in a mocking tone, "Oh my, why pretend to be so reserved behind your wife now?" I heard someone was so shocked to learn they were married that they even demolished their house. More than that, another divine lord, Anji, shook his head with a light laugh. Just finished saying they had no interest in anyone, and then the love thread lit up so brightly even the rising sun wasn't that radiant. TSK, 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 wonder who that could be. Chen Bai, teased by the two of them in succession, didn't mind at all. Instead, he cheerfully held my hand and said, "No wonder you're so concerned. After all, at your advanced age, you haven't even had the chance to wear a love knot, you little rascal." The group was so infuriated they gritted their teeth, joking that they wouldn't leave until they'd eaten this immortal mountain bear. I know they were also concerned about Chunbi, so I quickly ordered the celestial attendants to prepare a banquet for them. Chunbi was being pulled along and plied with wine, and just as I was sending people to arrange accommodations for the divine lords, a clear light flashed at the foot of the mountain, and someone strolled toward me. Mingshi pays respects to the divine consort. "I trust you have been well since we last met." I didn't recognize him, but I supposed he must have seen me at the grand wedding. Greetings, immortal lord. During my cultivation, I once received the demon king's care. Now, seeing the princess being deceived, I truly cannot bear it. I frowned at him. What do you mean, immortal lord? The princess is as clever as ice and snow. Have you never suspected why Lord Chunbi, who merely descended to the mortal realm to undergo tribulation, returned as a completely different person in terms of marital affection? I remained silent in thought, and he stepped closer, lowering his voice. He kept it from the princess. He descended to the mortal realm to undergo a trial of love. Is that all? My previously tense mood instantly eased, since it was a trial. There was no choice in the matter. Now that he has returned, I naturally won't dwell on those mortal affairs. Mingxi paused for a moment upon hearing my words, then chuckled softly. The divine consort is indeed magnanimous, but have you considered this? Lord Chunbi's dislike for the demon race is well known in the heavens, so why would he fall in love at first sight with your demon realm's princess Junning, even going so far as to humble himself and plead with the heavenly sovereign for her hand in marriage? He approached me with a stern expression, and with a slight movement of my hand, my protective artifact was placed in front of me. He smiled somewhat bitterly. Does the imperial princess think I would harm you? I merely came to tell you a few honest words. I did not withdraw the artifact and said coldly, speak. Then, the reason Chen Bai is so persistent is simply because, imperial princess, you are fortunate enough to bear a face that resembles hers. The divine lord endured tribulations just to accompany her through a lifetime in the mortal world. He stared at me and continued, as a noble-born imperial princess, would you really lower yourself to be a substitute just for Lord Chunbi? I gave him a cold look and activated my magical artifact. I have no patience for nonsense. Get lost. Mingxi didn't expect me to strike without warning. In a panic, he defended himself, and a puppet shot out from his sleeve, crashing straight into my artifact. Madam, Chen Bai emerged at some point, withstanding the power of my magic treasure to snatch that puppet. Mingxi did not take action, struck by the magical force. He spat blood but still wore a smile. Fairy Junning, why not take a look at what your devoted husband is so desperately protecting? Chen Bai, holding the puppet in his hand, hurried over to support me with flustered steps. My lady, I only sensed an extremely familiar aura on it. Stop! I let out a low, sharp exclamation. He halted in his tracks, stunned, his face filled with panic. Madam, I don't want it. Please don't be angry. As he spoke, he made to throw the doll away. But I snatched it from him with a swift motion. The doll was crafted with startling realism. Its eyes and brows bore a striking resemblance to mine, and it seemed to be enveloped in lingering traces of emotion, connected to my very breath. It was actually my thread of affection. Mingxi raised an eyebrow and looked at me. Your Highness still doesn't know. This puppet is infused with your thread of affection, blessed by the Divine Lord's thoughts, and nourished by a lifetime of mortal dust. Soon it will truly become human, and once it cultivates immortality and attains the Tao, that will be the one the Divine Lord truly loves. He despises demons the most. How could he genuinely love you? Jun Ning, oh Jun Ning, you are truly foolish to the extreme. A sharp pain pierced my heart, and blood seeped from the corner of my lips. Madam, what's wrong with you? Chen Bai dared not force his way through my magical barrier, so he turned and viciously attacked Mingxi. Mingxi immediately fled, laughing arrogantly, angry and ashamed. I'm not that foolish. Ah! The laughter abruptly ceased, and a spray of blood mist filled the air as Mingxi's body was sliced into several pieces by my magical artifact and fell to the ground. Chen Bai tentatively reached out to me. Madam, do not call me madam, I snapped in a low voice. He called me foolish, so I must make an example of him. From now on, no one will dare insult me again. This is how we of the demon tribe have always done things. I raised my eyes to Chen Bai and placed the puppet on the ground. As for you, since you dislike the demon tribe, there is no need to force yourself. Given our time together these past few days, I will allow you this one deception. From now on, Jun Ning and you shall be enemies when we meet again. My father, who has always doted on me, was furious upon hearing this and insisted on seeking justice for me. When he returned, his expression was calm, and he told me that Chen Bai had been sentenced by the Heavenly Lord to 100 years of thunder punishment, which was an extremely severe penalty. I had been in seclusion for a long time to calm my anger, never expecting that upon emerging, I would run into Chen Bai right at the entrance. How does he still have the face to come before me? Chen Bai's eyes lit up at the sight of me, and he softly called me madam. I frowned and revealed my magical artifact. Has the Divine Lord forgotten what I said? He gently shook his head. I have never forgotten what you said, but do you still remember? You said I was also the one you held dearest in your heart. Hearing this, I was reminded of that puppet and couldn't help but angrily retort. Coming to my door to humiliate me, do you think our demon clan is easy to bully? The magical artifact fell as commanded, but Chen Bai didn't dodge at all, charging forward instead to firmly grasp my hand. The love knot bracelet on his wrist glowed brilliantly once more, even halting my magical artifact midair. What are you doing? I've said it before, my admiration and affection for you, my joy in you, are utterly genuine. But what about you, my lady, from the proposal to our wedding? Have you ever felt even a moment's fondness for me? I was speechless for a moment. It seems, it really never happened. Chen Bai let out a bitter laugh, as if he had expected it all along. I foolishly thought that your anger over the puppet meant you had feelings for me, that hatred grew from love. It wasn't until the Demon King went to the heavenly court to seek justice that I realized you truly only hated me for using you as a substitute. I shook off his hand. Should I be happy that you used me as a substitute? Chen Bai, his face pale, took the doll out from his sleeve. I truly sense that my thoughts linger on this doll, but I really don't know where it came from beginning to end. I have never lied to you. He held the doll in his palm and said softly, today, I will destroy it. You need not dwell on it any further. He looked at me steadily, then suddenly revealed a faint smile. Without this bond, I hope to restrain myself and no longer think of you incessantly. The doll shattered in his palm with a resounding crack. Yet, in that instant, I felt a sharp pain in my chest, so intense that I could barely stand. In my daze, I saw Chen Bai rushing over in a panic to catch me. My vision went black, and I faintly heard him calling my name, Ning Ning. He seems to have never called me like that before. Ning, this is for you. Dazedly, I opened my eyes and saw a fair-skinned, neatly dressed little boy reaching out to place a candy in my hand. Ning, this is for you. When we met again, the little boy had grown a few years older and handed me a paper kite. I made it myself. If you're feeling bored, play with it for a while. I'll be out of school soon. Ning, this is for you. The little boy had grown into a graceful young man, his ears tinged with red as he pushed a jade hairpin toward me, his eyes darting nervously, not daring to meet my gaze. I thought it looked nice and bought it on a whim. You should wear it. The scene before me gradually shifted. We had grown up together since childhood, and it was only natural that we became husband and wife, a lifetime of deep affection and sweet love, truly a rare and beautiful tale of a devoted couple. As he lay ill in bed, he held my hand and whispered softly, my dear, have you enjoyed spending this life with me? I nodded, and he smiled, staring intently into my eyes just like the first time we met, murmuring, I'm leaving, my lady. Say something intimate to me, just as I have to you. Madam, I adore you. And you? I pursed my lips, feeling for some reason unable to open my mouth. His eyes were full of disappointment, gradually losing focus. As he struggled to place my hand on his chest, my lord,
Earlier, you rascal. You've made my wife give me the cold shoulder. Quickly find me an excuse to undergo a trial, and I'll go collect the threads for my wife. Don't be reckless. If it were that simple, I'm afraid everyone in the heavenly court would be descending to search for their own lost threads of affection. Mu Yuan snorted coldly. Undergoing a trial requires sealing one's immortal roots and divine consciousness to ensure unharmed passage through the mortal world. But searching for threads of affection requires fully opening one's divine consciousness to find them in the mortal realm. If anything were to happen to you, wouldn't the heavenly Lord punish me with eternal reincarnation? My divine consciousness is stable, it's fine. Just help me this once. Mu Yuan put away the water mirror and sighed. I couldn't resist his pleas, so I agreed to keep it a secret for him. Who would have thought it would lead to such trouble? To retrieve the thread of affection, he recklessly opened his divine consciousness, which is why he returned in such a confused state. Unable to remember the past, I gently touched my chest. Feeling that today was different from before, seeing the scenes in the water mirror, I couldn't help but feel a strange sensation toward Chunbi. Mu Yuan spoke again. All these troubles were caused by that puppet. Even if it weren't for that scoundrel Mingxi's instigation, the princess would have found out sooner or later. Princess, does that puppet look somewhat familiar to you? I really have a grudge against this doll. Gritting my teeth, I said, more than just familiar, I look exactly like it. Mu Yuan quickly waved his hands, both amused and exasperated. It's not that the princess resembles it, but that it resembles the princess. This doll was originally made by Chunbi, who fell in love with you at first sight but couldn't find out your origins, so he crafted it to console his longing. After descending to the mortal realm, it became so strikingly similar because it was infused with your affection. My eyes widened in sudden realization. Love at first sight. Investigating my background, when did this happen? How come I had no idea at all? So Chenbai's affection for me had started that early. The time Mu Yuan mentioned was when I first ascended to become an immortal and went to the heavenly court with my father to attend a banquet. At that time, my immortal rank was low, so no one flattered me, and I didn't care either. I was only focused on eating, drinking, and enjoying myself. Never expecting that someone would catch a glimpse of me and imprint me in their heart. After the banquet, I returned to the demon clan. Chenbai, longing for the beauty, secretly searched all over the heavenly realm but couldn't find me. In the end, he could only make a doll to console his feelings. Mu Yuan glanced at me again and said, later, he saw you again at the banquet, learned of your identity as the princess, and begged the heavenly lord to propose on his behalf. When the marriage was settled, he was so overjoyed at my residence that he didn't know what to do with his hands and feet. After saying this, he sighed deeply. The one thing the princess need never doubt is his sincere admiration. I was speechless, suddenly recalling what he had said. Didn't he say he disliked the demon clan the most? Why did he become so decisive after meeting me? Mu Yuan sighed. If we're talking about this, it actually started because of the princess. At that time, he couldn't find you anywhere, and a demon immortal said you didn't dare show your face, probably because you were some kind of spirit in disguise. He got angry and from then on, he disliked the demon race. In other words, all of this is because of me. I pondered the cause and effect, and suddenly understood. So when Chenbai descended to the mortal realm to collect threads of affection for me, that was the scene I just dreamed of. Exactly. Unfortunately, that strand of affection from the princess refused to awaken, so he had to use his divine will to forcibly bring it back. As a result, after returning, his heart was wounded, and he completely forgot about that thread of affection and the puppet. And because the puppet obtained the princess's thread of affection, when it was destroyed, the princess suffered backlash, which is how she learned about the mortal affairs. My heart raced for a moment, and I rolled out of bed, eager to go find Chunbi right away. Unexpectedly, as soon as I stepped out the door, I nearly collided with him. What are you doing here? I had thought he had returned to the heavenly court, but with that question, Chunbi's expression instantly darkened. He reached out and handed me a brocade pouch. This is for you. Inside is the weak water immortal herb, specially used to nourish the divine consciousness. After saying that, he turned and left. Mu Yuan called out repeatedly but couldn't stop him. I picked up the brocade pouch, looked up at his retreating figure, and said, this isn't a good place to rest. Could you take me home, my lord? Mu Yuan exclaimed with relief. Thank heavens, little princess, you've finally come back to your senses. Chunbi slowly turned his head, gazing at the glowing love knot on my wrist. Overwhelmed with surprise and joy, he was speechless for a long moment. I walked toward him, and with each step, the love knot on his wrist glowed brighter, until at last it shone in harmony with the one on my own wrist. You now, shouldn't you call me madam? Or perhaps Aining would be better. Chenbai was stunned for a moment, then suddenly pulled me into his embrace. I could feel his entire body trembling faintly, his voice in my ear, slightly choked with tears. Madam, you scared me to death. I reached out and gently patted his shoulder and back. It's all right now. It won't happen again. Then you have to make it up to me. Chenbai's face came close to mine, his eyes slightly closed. Mu Yuan suddenly cried out in surprise. Chenbai, have some shame. There are people here. Who told you to look? Shameless old man. He held me as we rose with the wind, then turned and whispered in my ear, my lady, let's go home. Looking into his deep gaze, I gently leaned into his embrace. Let's go home.